today CNN is in the process of being sued for defamation. But of course you wouldn't know that if by looking at CNN's website or CNN's profile on YouTube or X or anything like that, because it is the attempt, in my opinion, of the mainstream media to suppress this sort of information to keep the lies going. CNN would not be sued if they didn't do a crime of defamation and other damages to Zachary Young. The reason why CNN is getting sued is because you have this CNN news reporter, Alex Marquardt, that personally pursued Zachary Young without any evidence of a scam, any evidence of deception, fraud, exploitation of Afghans who wanted to flee Afghanistan after the fall of Afghanistan in August 2021. They wanted to flee because the Taliban was threatening violence and terrorism and killings and things like that for men, women, and children alike. And so there was a market out there for Afghans wanting to flee Afghanistan to escape the Taliban. As far as I know about this case, there were two prominent companies that were working out there. The names escape me right now, but their primary mission was to evacuate Afghans who wanted to leave their country, Afghanistan, to go to a safer country to escape the Taliban. And Zachary Young, I think, was an element of either those two businesses or owned his own company as a independent contractor to aid in the evacuation of Afghans out of Afghanistan after Afghanistan fell in August 2021. Now, if you remember, in August 2021, the U.S. pulled out of Afghanistan and created a firestorm of terrorism killings by the Taliban. And so all the unrest, all the unstableness in Afghanistan going on at that time, it is understandable that Afghans wanted to flee the country. And so, again, going back to the story, you have the CNN news reporter who personally went after Zachary Young and created a hit piece in November 2021 smearing Zachary Young's name, smearing his company, his credibility. And so he sued CNN. And Alex Marquardt is at the center of this lawsuit. And the clip that I'm about to play will demonstrate that Zachary Young's lawyer, named Devin Friedman, he has an excellent line of questioning towards Alex Marquardt. And Devin Friedman, who's the lawyer representing Zachary Young, just totally destroys Alex Marquardt, the CNN reporter, with his own words. Take a look.
He claims that everyone had to have a sponsor. He knew that people couldn't pay that. And when this person said, can't I pay it myself, he didn't respond because he likely knew that that person could not pay it themselves.
Hold that thought. We're going to keep going. Okay, Mr. Marker?
Sounds good.
At the bottom of page 7, the contact tells you, and now that I checked my conversation with Young, it seems like he blocked me. I can't send him any messages. You see that?
I do, yes.
You asked for screenshots of his evacuation of his conversation with Zachary Young. Did you not?
Yes, I was gathering all kinds of information. I thought it would be valuable. It could be valuable for the report.
And then at 11:42, Corey, he says, "Sir, I've sent you the pics, right?"
Yes.
Let's look at the screenshots he emailed you. Corey, can you put on the side Exhibit 94, page 2? It's an evidence room. So this is the email from him. Now, sir, this jury has already seen this correspondence, so I'm not going to go through the long opening message. We've seen it in Mr. Young's testimony, but there's a long opening message from the Afghan, right?
Very long. It's truly heartbreaking to read it. I mean, this really speaks to what these people were going through. He talks about the Taliban coming to his door to try to find him. him and his father because of what he was doing. So this speaks exactly to the kind of people that I wanted to highlight in my reporting, how desperate they were to get out of the country. And he says very clearly in the beginning of the message, my family and I are in great
Objection, non-responsive, narrative response.
Okay.
Let's go to page 2, please. So after the long message from the Afghan, Mr. Young says, do you have a sponsor able to pay for evacuation costs, correct?
Yeah, nothing about, I'm so sorry for your situation.
Correct,
His
sir.
immediate response was, do you have a sponsor? Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Afghan replies, not really, but can't I pay them myself, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Young replies, $14,500 per person, and on the bottom of the screen, what he's telling you, LinkedIn member unable to receive messages, he blocks them, correct?
I don't know when he blocked them, but he's saying $14,500 per person. He doesn't, his answer to that question is not, no, you cannot pay it yourself. You must have a sponsor. He is entertaining the possibility that this person might have the money and therefore could pay himself. And I think this is a good example of Mr. Young entertaining the possibility of taking money from people who in fact did not have sponsors. And then when he realized that that person likely did not have a sponsor or that money, he blocked them. And this is a continuation of a pattern that we saw that once Mr. Young realized that people were not really of use to him, he would cut off communication.
Kind of like when you find out that they have no information on Young, you drop them too, right?
No, that's not true. I used what they told me to inform the rest of my reporting. It confirmed that this market was going on.
Sir, you do not know when that block was enacted, right?
No, I don't. But I do know.
Yeah,
I can see here that the conversation ended.
Let's keep going, sir, and maybe we'll find out. Let's go back to
Be sure to smash the like button if you're enjoying this content so far.
LinkedIn conversation on the left side. You keep pushing, sir. You say, after he gave you the price, that was the end? You see that?
I do.
And the source responds to you at 11:46. Yes. He did not say anything. And after he told me about the price, I was no longer able to message him. You can see it in the end of the picture. You see that?
Yes, it looks like the conversation
So,
ended.
sir, the Afghan told you that the block occurred right after he was told about the price, correct?
Okay, I take your word for it, yeah. And his.
Take it down, sir. Thank you. So this source's interaction with Zach, with Mr. Young, is being asked if he had a sponsor. The source saying no, but asking if he can pay for himself. Zach telling him a price he could never afford to pay. You agree with that, right?
I do, and by Mr. Young's own admission, these people couldn't afford that.
And then being blocked, right?
Right.
Strike 7.
Again, that's not how I was looking at it. And what we would later hear from Mr. Young was that his efforts were to align corporate sponsors with people, align sponsors, essentially find the sponsors for these people. But what we're learning here, and what is very clear, is that Mr. Young was putting the pressure on those people who, keep in mind, were running for their lives, who were being hunted by the Taliban, who were being targeted by the Taliban. He was telling them, you need to go out and find that money in order for me to help you. He was not finding the sponsors for those people.
He was just working for corporations.
That's not true. You can see right there he was engaging with a regular person.
7 people contacted we just looked at, correct?
I'll take your word for it.
I said strike 7. Did I miscount?
I don't look at it as balls and strikes.
Regardless, it was 7 people, correct?
I will take your word for it. I wasn't counting.
5 had no interaction from Zach.
I'll take your word for it.
2 had been told they needed sponsors and then were blocked or ignored, correct?
Yes.
No evidence of Zach engaging in a scam, correct?
No evidence he engaged in a scam, and that's not at all what we reported in the end. We just reported that he was charging high prices.
No evidence of Mr. Young engaging in deception, correct?
No.
No evidence of him engaging in fraud, correct?
No.
But you kept watching him anyway, isn't that true?
I kept doing my research, and none of those words that you used were ever anywhere in the reporting that we did. These were things that I was considering, and when I found that he was not doing them, I did not say that he did them.
You kept watching him anyway, sir, correct?
What do you mean by watching, sir?
Okay, you tell us. Corey, can you put Exhibit 102 on the screen? This is an evidence, Judge. Let's go to page 1. This is an email from you, Mr.
Got him.
November 1st to Mr. Phillips, Mr. Callahan, Katie Bo Lillis, and your opening sentence, I think this is the same guy I've been watching, Zachary Young. Do you see that?
Yes. What
Got him in his own words right there on the screen for the jurors to see.
that I'm looking into, that I'm researching.
And sir, you looked at Zachary Young's LinkedIn profile 1,000,000 times, did you not?
I wasn't able to. He never accepted my request.
Corey, can you put up Exhibit 112 on 112 on the screen? It's an evidence, Judge. Let's go to page 3. These are text messages between yourself and Katie Bo Lillis. She says, or he has premium. This is LinkedIn premium, right?
Yeah.
And you can see who is looking at his profile. Do you see that?
Yes.
And you respond, right, probably that. I've looked 1,000,000 times. Do you see that, sir?
I've looked for him 1,000,000 times. I don't recall ever seeing his actual profile.
I see. So you were trying to figure out how it just fortuitously happened that Mr. Young connected with Katie Bo Lillis on LinkedIn. Isn't that right?
I'm sorry, repeat the question?
Yeah, you were here discussing with Katie Bo Lillis, who was Williams at the time. She's since married, correct?
Correct.
And so you were talking with Katie Bo Lillis, and you were trying to figure out how it was that Mr. Young reached out to Katie Bo Lillis for a connection. And she says he has premium and is maybe looking at to see who is looking at his profile.
I'm not sure if that's what we were discussing there.
So by this point, Corey, think you can take that down. You had zeroed in on Zachary Young. Isn't that correct?
Mr. Young was the way that I learned about the story. Mr. Young, I learned quite early on, and thanks to Ms. Lillis, I confirmed was very much a part of this market that we were looking into. And so I think everything that you've been showing for the past few minutes is just evidence of all the research that I was doing into this market and into Mr. Young's role in this market. And I think it demonstrates how thorough we were being in trying to understand everything that was going on.
You had zeroed in on Mr. Young, correct?
Mr. Young, we certainly thought was going to be part of this story, but we were allowing for the possibility that he wouldn't be. But I only learned about this market.
This is Mr. Young right here with the blondish hair.
What was going on because I had learned about Mr. Young. So I was doing some research, quite a bit of research about Mr. Young.
Corey, can we get a limited production? This is not yet in evidence of Exhibit 99.
He's about to get got again.
And so this is a conversation between you and another contact, correct?
Yes.
And it relates to the Afghanistan story and Mr. Young, correct?
I don't see Mr. Young referenced in here. At the very top, you can see that I'm talking about the exploitation of people getting out of Afghanistan. This was a conversation about that story.
Final plaintiff's offer Exhibit 99 to evidence.
No objection. Plaintiff's 99
Yes, sir.
will be admitted.
Mr. Hagan, can we publish that to the jury now, please? Corey, can you take us to page 3? And I'm looking at 15:30 and 55 seconds.
There it goes.
Sir, a message from you. Well, there's always room for more good material. We have zeroed in on an American offering outrageous prices. Do you see that?
I do, yes.
You had zeroed in on this American, had you not?
Yeah, we had learned about him, and we were focused on him.
Are you unwilling to own your own words, Mr. Marquardt? You had zeroed in on an American offering outrageous prices, correct?
I think it's been very clear from everything you've shown that Mr. Young was certainly a person of great interest to me, and I was trying to figure this out. And this is, mind you, 9 days before the eventual publication of the piece. And so that far out, we don't know what the piece is actually going to look like. Is it going to be a profile of Mr. Young? Is it going to be entirely about him? Is it going to be about the broader subject? But you know from the very beginning of my process that I was looking at the entire process, the entire market of which Mr. Young was a part, and I had identified him as a player in that market, and I was focusing on him.
In that speech, you not once admitted to using the words zeroed in on an American. Isn't that correct?
Mr. Friedman, I do admit that I use those words.
Thank you, sir. Corey, can you please take that down?
Finally.
Can we agree, sir, that you investigated Zachary Young?
I certainly did, yes.
And despite that investigation, you found no evidence that he had committed a crime, correct?
That's correct. We never, ever reported him doing anything illegal.
And in fact, the court...
Okay, Mr. Alex Marquardt, you heard it there, folks. He admitted it. He found zero evidence that Zachary Young did anything wrong. And so I'm going to stop the video right here. I want to highlight a couple of high-level things. First of all, I want to tip my hat to Devin Friedman, who is Zachary Young's lawyer. That line of questioning was very excellent. Caught Mr. Alex Marquardt not lying, but needed his memory refreshed on text that he written down in the past or conversations he had with contacts trying to zero in and watch Zachary Young. And this goes into the larger picture of the mainstream media that I published a video 2 months ago. And it highlighted the fact that mainstream media on both TV and printed publication, they're dying. They're losing viewerships. They're losing subscriptions. And podcasts like mine and much bigger platforms than mine, like Joe Rogan and whatnot, we are taking over. You know, I go to Twitter for my news. I don't turn on the TV for news because it is lopsided, whether it be far right or far left. You know, journalists need to make it their jobs to do their job of journalism. Get to the truth, publish the truth, and give the American public an eye-opening experience based on what you're reporting. This guy, Alex Marquardt, admitted, you heard it, that he didn't have any proof that Zachary Young did anything wrong or illegal, but he still watched him and zeroed in on him, and then subsequently published a hit piece on CNN about the high prices Zachary Young was charging to get Afghans out of the country. And part of the bigger black market of companies doing that same work. Why was his focus on Zachary Young? I don't know. Maybe he was just fixated on nailing this one guy, making him an example, and then having a breaking news story that may have, if this lawsuit didn't go through, Alex Marquardt would have probably won an Emmy for his efforts in breaking the story, but he threw all caution out the window. There was no evidence of a scam, no evidence of deception or fraud or exploitation, but he still had Zachary Young at the center of his hit piece that he published in November 2021. You would think that CNN would learn a lesson from MSNBC. MSNBC was recently ordered to pay Trump $15 million and slandering his name about a trial that he had in the past. I won't bring it up. I don't think it's that important. But you have mainstream news media publications or television or whatever networks that are being sued by people right and left because the anchors and the journalists that work for these networks, they don't care about the truth. All they want to do is get a big story so they can get promoted, get an Emmy, and get paid more money. And that, quite frankly, is not going to fly. And so, smash the like button, share this video if you deem necessary, if this information is interesting and may be interesting to others. And stay tuned for more videos like this. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you.